All right, Shalom, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there pushing the truth across the four corners of earth. I'm the brother Shaman from Great Millstone, Chicago, back at it again. And the apostle issued a question out for Israel. He said, did Israelites sell Israelites to go into slavery? Showed a video where, Jake came up with proof, that actually happened. And then he was actually called a coon, and you have to be careful, when you say stuff like that, especially against another Israelite, and then you don't have the pure facts and the pure history, all right? And the scriptures tells us to go back into the ways of our fathers. And, in order for us to do that, you have to have a certain knowledge of history, who we were, where we were, which, history is vast, thousands of years of history. All right. But that's why the scriptures say, blessed is he that readeth, because you're going to be able to break things down and understand things and put things in order, for our people to understand, not just here in the States, but worldwide. Because you got a lot of people, in Africa, they might be in, what many people consider the motherland, but they don't even have knowledge of their own history, going back to, again, the land of Israel. All right. And one of the things we see in the scriptures over and over again, we see, the Lord himself did it. We see Jake flee into Egypt, Jake flee into Egypt, and then the reason they go there is to be able to blend in, because the so-called Hamites, even though their spirit is different, they have a similar kind of complexion to us. They kind of look like us. Their hair is kind of, they got the same woolly hair, but you can look in their eyes and see, in most cases, some cases that's not true, but in most cases you can look in their eyes and see that they're not an Israelite. The scriptures say the eyes are the windows to the soul. All right. And, I'm just going to do this one on the southern kingdom. And then I guess I'll split it up into the northern kingdom too, because you had many people in the northern kingdom who were wicked as hell, who they show you kind of an apocalypto, right? They go into the jungle, they find the tribe, then they bring them back, and then they sacrifice them. They show you that, all right? And Jake was doing that. Jake was into the pagan shit. And that's, again, why the scriptures tell us, Jeremiah 10 and 2, it said what? Let's start at verse 1. It said, hear ye the word of the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Right? And that's what it say. Learn not the way of the heathen. All right? Part of the scriptures tell you how to deal, if you have a servant, how to deal with that servant. All right? You're supposed to, matter of fact, let's get to that. All right? Because the scriptures ordain slavery in certain parts, all right? Even the slavery of the Israelites, the scriptures say what? You're going to have to go into captivity in Babylon with ships. So at the time, it was ordained. That's why it happened. That's why people were brought all the way over here and allowed to survive. You on the bottom of a ship, cold as hell, whatever disease, malaria, whatever sickness you had, that those are all curses that the Lord put upon us because of the wicked shit we were doing. All right. It said, for the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. Okay, so that's going into the idols. And then guess what happened this year? They say disputed African artifacts sell at auction. Yeah, because when they go into all these different places, Nigeria, Mali, the Congo, Cameroon, you're going to see these same idols, all right? Our people, that's part of the reason why they sold us. First off, it was wickedness, but second off, they did it so they could try to fit in with the heathen, all right? Because if, you see the heathens grabbing up your people and selling them, then what are you going to, and then also on top of that, you had disputes with Jake, where once again, Jake was not following the laws, the statutes, and commandments of the Bible. All right, it's not. You got to take your mind out of the now. You can't just grab somebody now and then try to sell them all. Hell, you know what I'm saying? Hell no, you can't. In a conventional way. Now, Esau does it. Esau grabs people up, grabs children, young girls especially, but that they're not doing it legally. They're doing that under the guise of darkness. They're doing that in the shadows. All right, but anyway, back to this. It says, right, these artworks are stained with the blood of Biafra's children. Jumping down, it said the sale of 2 wooden statues made by the Igbo people of Nigeria. They believe the items were looted in the late 1960s during the country's brutal civil war, right? So even they had civil war. Hey, and on that thing with the ships, going into the ships again, you have a lot of Jakes who did not go on ships into Babylon. All right, you had a lot of Israelites who were left behind, and that's how. But the scriptures say what? Israel is numbered as the sand of the sea that's scattered to the 4 winds. So, all Israel did not go on ships into Babylon, and that's just what it is. But a good portion of us did, though. A good portion of us did. All right, and then the scriptures tells you, then of course we have the breakdown for the 12 tribes, which tribe went where for the most part, et cetera, et cetera. All right, but it says, yeah, and this is the Igbo, and the Igbo, we know many famous Igbo people. All right, and again, I believe they actually apologized for slavery. Let me see if I can find that. Right, now, a monarch apologizes for traditional rulers' participation in the slave trade. Let me see. Okay, you can't read the article. All right, now let's jump to this because you have the Mali Kingdom, right? Which this was under the guise of Islam, right? This is where Islam came in and Jake embraced Islam. And that's how, we got into the whole Islam thing, which was initially created, for the heathen. It was created to fool them, but it backfired, right? This is Mansa Musa, which people say is one of the richest men in history. Let's see why he became one of the richest men in history. Because, anytime, of course, you become rich, you got to, there's some kind of thing where you're getting over. I'll put it like that. There's some kind of way for you to be one of the richest. There's some way you're getting over on people, all right? Whether it be the people who founded the U.S., whether it be anybody, all right? And that's why, in some cases the Lord told us don't take anything. But then some cases where the heathen took our things, they took our gold, they took our precious stones and ointments. And when we came and we destroyed them, we took our shit right back. It says, every year and that's why the scriptures talk about in a righteous sense, if you're a servant to a man and he's a good master, for you to have that all in your ear, that earring, to show that you're a servant, okay? And when you look at even though Islam took over, you still have people have that zeal of righteousness. They still kept that culture in some cases. When you see many of these different men and these different soldiers and these captains, a lot of them have that earring in, which is that all. They're servants unto whatever lord or master they were serving under. All right, but I'm gonna stop talking. It says every year during Black History Month, many well-meaning people post information that they know little about. Recently, I saw a post about the great Mali Kingdom that glorified one of its leaders, Mansa Musa, said to be considered one of the wealthiest black men in history. Let's jump down, which we believe, more than likely he was Jake. It says, that is not what you should be teaching our children, that because you become extremely wealthy by exploiting enslaving people, that this makes you great in history. All right. Then they break it down. It said, when Ibn Battuta first visited Cairo in 1376, Cairo is a city in the country of Egypt, he undoubtedly heard about the visit of Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa had passed through the city 2 years earlier, making his pilgrimage to Mecca with thousands of slaves and soldiers, wives, and officials. 100 camels, each carrying 100 pounds of gold. Mansa Musa performed many acts of charity. Let me see. I'm gonna skip down. Let's skip right to the point. All right. Well, like I said, slaves. He had many slaves. All right. There's always been, and Esau. He'll use that argument. He'll use it in wickedness. There have always been slaves throughout history. Well, that's true. All right. But in the case, with ours, it said what? The scriptures say, "Well, you sold a girl for wine, sold a boy for a harlot." You know, Esau did that, man. He would come in, he would take your wife, he would beat the shit out of your elders. All right. He sometimes, hey, some of these sick ass Edomites, they would even take your children. All right. We see what they do to this day, with little boys in the Catholic Church and all that. Now imagine what they could do on a big ass slave plantation while working in the hot sun, you know what I'm saying, and you got your little kids, in the house or on the plantation or whatever. Basically they had full reign over that. All right. And that psychological damage and that damage is still alive to this day. That's one of the reasons we beg to leave this place. That's one of the reasons why the family unit is so fucked up. Right? Because Esau did a lot of psychological damage and once again, he's the son of the wicked. All right. Because you got the sons of men, the sons of the living power. You got the sons of the wicked. The Edomites, those are the sons of the wicked. All right, but back to it. And this is an account for what was going on in Mansa Musa's empire. This is one example because, again, you have so many years between the time we were in Jerusalem and then the time we came here. It's about 1,500 years. So many empires came, many empires and went. It said, here's an account. It says, he answered, "I won't let them go until they know the Quran by heart." Wait, nope. Going back. On a holiday, I went to see the judge, and seeing his children in chains, I asked him, "Aren't you going to let them go?" He answered, "I won't let them go until they know the Quran by heart." Another day, I passed a young Negro with a handsome face who was wearing superb and carrying a heavy chain around his feet. I asked the person who was with me, "What did that boy do? Did he murder someone?" The young Negro heard my question and began to laugh. My colleague told me he has been chained up only to force him to commit the Quran to memory. So you got Jake who was chaining themselves up. This had to be Jake. This had to be Jake to learn the damn book that was completely false. All right. Hey, you had a lot of Jakes die because they would not embrace Islam. They would not embrace the Quran, which the Quran tells you that the sons of Jacob are the top people on the earth. All right. It says, the copper mine is situated outside Takeda. Slaves of both sexes dig into the soil and take the ore to the city to smelt it in the houses. Right. Hey, so even in this, I was kind of reading through it. Yeah, they were slaves. It was bad, but even comparing this slavery to Esau's slavery, they still had rights. They could still, do certain things or whatever. A lot of these slaves, they still had knowledge and understanding that they were the Israelites. All right, it said, the copper of Takeda is exported to the city Kuber, situated in the land of the pagan Negroes. Copper is also exported, blah, blah, blah. And that's pretty much it on that, man. That was the point. It's some more information, but that was it on that. Basically, one of the way that he became rich and many. Hey, this is and not just him. The entire part of the Ottoman Empire. Right, the Ottomans, were big on slavery. That's where you get I know I grew up around a lot of people who are from Yugoslavia. The Bosnians and Croatians and all these Eastern European Edomites, and they're called Slavic. All right, the word Slavic goes back to slave because a lot of them actually were slaves under the Ottoman Empire. All right, let's see. It says because Muslim rulers needed slaves that the Khita clan was obliged to provide. The Khita clan betrayed their own kind to make riches. Exactly. All right. In the same way that a nigga will put, a bunch of 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds on the block and have them out there doing shit they're not supposed to be doing, XYZ, like you see today. Hey, it's the same thing, all right? They get hit with a charge, boom, 10 years, 15 years in the big house, all right? Basically, they became a slave to that particular whatever little drug lord they served under. All right, it's the same way. Jake has the same mentality. And that's why when people say, and they pop up with the Ankh and they pop up with the Egyptology shit, that's why, we look at them so sharply, because you're not understanding what that pharaoh represents, all right? That heathen culture, that pagan culture, that madness, all right? Also, too, I forgot to, I should have mentioned it first. Here's an excellent video on Taki's Rebellion by Elder Tazayawan. All right, you got different accounts, but go to the one with the elder where he talks about basically Taki, who ended up in Jamaica. He more than likely he's Benjamin, but basically he sold many of his own people into slavery, but then eventually he got caught up, and then eventually they took him to Jamaica. And then he had since he was a king, he had knowledge of war and knowledge of all this stuff. So eventually he roused up some people behind him and they had a rebellion. All right. But he actually gave an account where he actually sold his own people into slavery once again. It happened. All right. And again, going back, let's get to that too. Let's get to that. That account of servanthood. All right, because Esau actually tried to use that as like as a huge stumbling block over people, understanding the Bible. Where's that at? Okay. Exodus 21:2. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. Exactly. You're supposed to let him go in the 7th year. And if he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master hath given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be at her master's, and he shall go out by himself. Right. It said, so if you come to serve a master and he brings a woman to you, you have you have children by whatever, and you get to leave slavery, then she has to stay behind, unless it was some instances though where you could buy your wife. It said, and if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door. Blah blah. Then it's gonna go. Then it's gonna go off into more stuff. He's gonna put the all in his ear, XYZ. And if a man wants to, verse 7, if a man wants to sell his daughter, see, it goes into that too. All right. So these are all ancient world customs, that Israel did. But in some places, again, they violated. They violated the law, because the law was not up. All right. It says, we can get a whole bunch of more examples, man. We can get so many examples. We can get so many more. All right, and this is Jeremiah 2:14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Exactly. All valid questions. What's going on? What a homeborn slave. Matter of fact, let's look that up. I know what it is. A homeborn slave is a house, dwelling, habitation, shelter, right? Yeah, home. Exactly. So not a wild slave you caught, but a slave who was born, basically a house nigga. I put it like that in modern day terms, a house nigga. All right, because we've been in captivity The scriptures tell you that we've been in captivity under every nation. All right. But hey, the brothers a great millstone. You know, Lord willing, man, to the best of our ability, we try to come out with 100% truth. You know, and evaluate everything, break down everything. That's why the scriptures talk about, you know, you're gonna utter dark sayings, and you know, because a lot of this stuff that we go through and a lot of the things that we see that we've done is dark. You know, and you never know, you know, what role you play. And I think about that, you know, for myself. You never know what role you played in these different situations. All right. So hey, this is the one on the Southern Kingdom. Lord willing, the next one I'm gonna do one on the Northern Kingdom, you know, with a little bit more information and getting right to the point. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Shalom.